This panel is about education innovation. We are a very diverse panel bringing multiple perspectives into this most important issue called education. And our panelists are ranging from students to unstudents, to people who are doing creative learning in and out of school, to people who are working in schools, and actually people who are working in corporations to inspire people to learn. And those of us who are working in schools, working in the most challenging situations. So it's going to be an amazing and engaging panel. I'm Idit Harel Caperton from the Worldwide Workshop. I work in New York, I work nationwide in the United States, and also doing some projects worldwide. Shirin is here from Israel, from Lod, from a new Arab school, very interesting school in Israel, new school. Michal is here from Google, from Israel, and she's going to talk about how she's inspiring youth, especially girls, to learn computer science and engineering. Katherine is here to talk about creative music by doing. Dale is here to talk to us about, to question whether going to schools and going to colleges is even important, as we all are saying, yes, it is. And Michael is here, a new addition to our team as of 10 minutes ago. We're so happy to have him because that's the voice of a student who's going to talk to us about his experiences as a high school student who's doing some interesting things with technology. But I was asked to give a little introduction about the concepts that we are going to talk about and a little bit about my work, and then I'm going to call the panelists. So why education? Why innovation? Why now? I think we need to really seriously think about education innovation because in the global innovation economy, in the knowledge economy, we need education of a completely different kind. We really need to rethink traditional methods and prepare children and youth to a whole new world. Innovation and engagement is needed on all fronts, in school, outside of school, at home, in communities, youth movements, whatever it is. We just need to rethink what we do with children and youth, and we heard a lot of opinions about trends, Joanna talked about what is it going to be like to be 12 in 2012, and Lee was talking about the do-it-yourself production, design-oriented culture and families that actually come in all shapes, sizes, forms, backgrounds, cultures. And so I think you'll hear some of this in our panel. I think that one very important thing about the innovation economy is that STEM, which is the American term, the acronym like Americans do very often, science, technology, engineering, mathematics, some people call it CS, STEM, computer science, technology, engineering, mathematics. I love CS STEAM because we put the arts, design and the arts and engineering are so important actually to cultivate scientific, engineering, and mathematical thinking. And approximately 3 million jobs are now unfilled in the US alone. I did some statistical research last night to bring some ideas of why this panel is so important. And I think that applicants are lacking STEM knowledge and skills. Gabi Zellermeyer talked a little bit about that in the panel in her work that she's doing in HP. The job growth in STEM is very strong. Opportunities in science and engineering fields is outpacing in the United States 3-to-1 the overall job growth, and there is a declining interest and confidence. Children aged 6 to 12, when they are asked to report about their interest in science and mathematics and engineering, they actually report a high interest and engagement, but then by age 13, 14, 15, their interest in the self-confidence is related to science drops down, especially among girls and minorities. Performance in the United States is very poor. I'm sure it's true. I spoke to some people from Germany, from England here, from Australia, so I know that it's kind of a trend in many countries right now, and there is also a decline in people who are receiving science and engineering degrees. Innovation is in high need. Educating children and youth to innovate, to be creative, but also changing the system so people will actually exist and experience innovative learning experiences is really important. Significant numbers of women and underrepresented minorities are missing from the STEM workforce today because they were not identified, they were not encouraged, and they were not nurtured to pursue STEM and design and engineering studies, projects, hobbies, and careers. What are the top 3 causes? We think that the lack of quality experiences in and out of school, in engineering, in design, in science, in mathematics, in art education programs, especially in poorer families, in low-income communities, and in low-income and troubled school districts, is completely lacking. There is still persistent stereotypes that say STEM is not for girls. Design, engineering, computer science, not for girls. And there are financial issues, of course, that are related to the cost of very effective creative education. So here is like kind of an American way of looking at this STEM pipeline. And some members of our panel will question that, right? So if you look at 10,000 ninth graders in the United States, that's the blue, 2,400 will actually end up graduating from high school and graduating with a bachelor degree in science, engineering, and the STEM fields. If you look at the same numbers of low-income kids, it's even a more tragic picture, right? Out of 10,000 students, in the ninth grade, only 700, right, will end up with degrees in those fields. Yet we know that there are jobs out there that cannot be filled. This is something that we all need to morally, ethically have a social responsibility in cultivating and facilitating among children and youth. So in my personal history and my innovation, to put it in the context, I had worked outside of schools with Mama Media, and I'm working now inside of school in the Web 2.0 social media technology era and try to bring the STEM that I brought to kids at home with Mama Media into the Worldwide Workshop. So let's take a quick look at Web 1.0. Actually, let's look first at okay. What are we looking at?
What if whatever you imagined became real? Well, now there's a place online that brings your imagination to life. MamaMedia.com. It's the site that lets you create your own web creatures. Design and send animated cards. Control digital characters with mind-boggling moves, so that anything you can dream, you can do. MamaMedia.com, the place for kids on the net.
Wow, sorry for that bad audio. 1995, we were able to finally bring this creative expression and constructive exploration on the internet to kids. Anything you can dream, you can do. Very proactive, design, production-oriented. But with Web 2.0, we can actually open it up even further and get kids to build Mama Media, games, simulations, scientific designs, visualizations. This is a video of a kid we've been following for the last 2 years from a poor community in East Austin, Texas. Let it buffer a little bit. And I think what we found out is that there is a large effect when you put people in this global area social network to invent, to build, and to share their simulations and scientific games and games that they do about issues that matter to them, about poverty, about water, about branches of government, right? About climate, about energy. And we're using all the tools that we are all using. This is very important to bring it to children from a very young age. HTML, Flash, Java, Google Tools, Google Docs, blogging, and different kinds of scientific and math games. And teach the students to be makers, to invent, to learn STEM through this blended learning, and a big technology plan that actually incorporate teachers as learners, online portfolios, big assessments, and infrastructure for personalized and customized learning. I think we'll hear a lot about that aspects in the panel and how we are trying to transform both teachers, schools, and systems. I would like to just see if we can get to see this, and then
Hi, my name's Laura. I am a student at East Austin College Prep Academy, and I am a sixth grader. My game's called Recyclement. You will have to pick up trash, and every time that you pick up a piece of trash, you will have to type in the coordinates of that piece of trash. And after you finish with that level, you will have an extra credit question. I think it really hits me with math because I didn't used to be that good at geometry. I have a little bit of trouble with it, but now I'm getting better at it because we have to research, and we also have to put some questions on it. What I like the most about Global Laureate is I really like blogging because you can express yourself, and other people can actually read your blogs. I consider myself kind of like a leader because we're the only ones in Texas that we have the opportunity to work with Global Laureate, and all of the students, I have some friends in other schools, and they go oh, that's not fair, how can they have Global Laureate in their school? I want to go to a school. I have learned a lot in computers. I'm getting.
So we have been documenting children's changing and transforming dramatically in the whole school system. We have 2,000 students. We are working with 100 teachers in 60 schools in 5 states. And we were in maybe 3 schools, just 8 teachers 3-4 years ago. So that's very encouraging. And with this, thinking about all the ways that we can empower with technology, with experts coming in person or through the network, with different kinds of places that are now offering education that is highly creative for the next generation. Let me bring into the stage our panelist, Shirin Hafi from the new Arabic school in Israel. Yes, please come. Maybe go from the... And Katherine Miliken from the Berlin Philharmonics, who's going to talk about creative music education. Michal Segalov from Google, from Tel Aviv, Israel. Very interesting corporate project encouraging education. And Adele Stevens. Wow, didn't I have another slide also with Michael? Come in, from Ann College, from USA. And I know that I had also our last edition. Here he is, Michal Matias from the International High School in Israel, who's joining us today to bring the perspective of the students. So we're kind of almost arranged in age, but we're all children in our spirit. And so this is going to be very fun. And so maybe I'll ask, let's see, Shirin. We had such a great conversation yesterday about all the challenges that you face as a principal that started a school 2 years ago. So just introduce yourself and tell your introductory story.
I'm only the principal of the new Arabic school, high school in Lod. It's a new school. It's first public school in Lod. We have girls and boys. What I do, I give especially the girls the opportunity to dream. I worked in a Jewish school for 14 years. I was a Hebrew literature teacher in the Jewish school. And I thought when I will become a principal in Arab school, it will be the same, They are all children. And I'm from Lod, but I didn't know that there are another children that I didn't know that they are there, They live like refugees in our country. They don't have streets. In a winter day, I don't have children in my school. It's a high school in 10th degree and 11th degree. Sometimes I take my car and go to bring them to school because they have an important exam. They come from poor families, but I think that the most important thing is to give them a chance to dream like a rich child. When you give a child the opportunity to dream like a rich one, he will become a rich one. It doesn't matter where are you from. I believe in this. I've never felt like an Arabic teacher in a Jewish school because in my mind, I felt like a teacher, a Hebrew teacher. And all the society treated me like this. And that's what I'm trying to do with my children. You know, everybody talk about coexistence. And my slogan is, first we have to have existence, and then we have the coexistence. And if you love yourself, if you are proud of yourself, if you go like this, then the others will love you. And I'm telling to my children that Jewish people are nice because they see Gil, who is...
Gil, raise your hand.
Gil.
Here's Gil.
Gil, for me, is not a Jewish person who come to volunteer in the school. He's a good person who wants to help. Yossi Vardi, who is there.
Yossi.
Another good people, good man. Here's Zika that gave us
and Zika,
computers.
another good woman.
Well, what my children see, they see that everybody talks about the conflict, but the conflict is based on people, and people are good. And if we, the education people, give that idea to children, they will raise another children. And I believe that that's the way that we can change our community, especially Arabs community. And I am there for the girls. This is a DLDwomen conference. I want to tell you, I'm not here to talk about myself. I'm here to talk about Rana. Rana's father has murdered in the West Bank, and I love my children. And she come to Lod. Her mother has get married with another man. She lives in a small apartment with 11 other brothers, and she wants to be a doctor, and she will be. I will do anything. When I took them the first time to the university, she told me that she didn't sleep at night because it was the first time that she asked herself, can I be here one day? I told her, yes, you can. And I will do anything that you will be here. So she stayed at school till 7 o'clock because she doesn't have anywhere to do homework. You know, it's homework. If you don't have home, you can't do homework. So this school is a home for these children. And you must come to our school to see. I can't talk about it.
So everybody is invited.
You know, it's 15 minutes from Lod Airport.
It's so convenient. It's
yes,
literally near
yes.
to the airport.
So,
and I think let's pick that theme again later. I like the idea of really a leader who's teaching her students to dream, right? And I think that's and we know how many challenges you have. So we're going to go around, and I think everybody here share that idea of teaching people how to dream, and to dream rather big. So maybe Catherine. No, Michal is actually next. This is a bunch of dreamers from Google Tel Aviv. They're engineers, and my slides got mixed up.
Does it work? Okay. Yeah, so I'm a software engineer. I'm a technical person, so I'm not an education person, but education in a sense is really my passion. So I want to tell you about a program that I started with my friend Daniela, who you can see there. So we're both engineers at Google, and we started Mind the Gap. And the goal is really to try and encourage young women, young girls, to pursue careers in computer science and technology. So we've all seen the figures that Idit presented about how the total number of people applying to science and technology majors declines. But actually, if you look at women's figures, then 30 years ago, women composed 40% almost of the computer science graduates, and today, in the United States, and today the number is around 20%. So there seems to be something going on where women simply are not approaching or reaching those technological fields. And the age when this happens is actually, like Idit mentioned, around junior high school. And this is exactly where we're trying to target these girls. So So basically the program is very simple. We host visits in the Google office, and the visit is composed of 3 very basic ingredients. First, we explain to them what science really is, what computer science is. Then we expose them to a high-tech environment. And finally, but I think most importantly, they see us. Oh, sorry. This is an example of one of the, they see these wonderful engineers that I work with, and they get a chance to talk to us and ask us very personal questions. So here you can see the gathering is very intimate. And really, these girls come, and a lot of them have a lot of misconceptions about science, computer science. They really think that, I come to work at 9 a.m., I sit in my gray cubic all day, watch the screen, and go home after 12 hours without talking to anyone. They think that computer science is a very narrow discipline. For instance, most of them have never heard of user experience or applications. So we try to expose them to other, other shades of computer science. And they really get a chance to speak to us on a very, very personal level. We were very open with them, and we make sure that through giving them a tour of the Google office and making sure that they can see how creative and innovative a high-tech environment is, they get a chance to ask us anything not next to their teachers. So literally, they ask me how much I make every time. It's literally anything. And this actually has been very successful. So we also started running big conferences. This is the one you can see here in leading universities in Israel. So there has been already 2,000 girls go through this program. And from this conference that you see here, 40% of them selected computer science as a high school major. There were 500 participants. So the results are really overwhelming. And I think the most important thing to stress is that this is not my day job. I'm a software engineer. So as you know, Google has, or as you don't know, I'll tell you, 20% time, where on 20% of the engineers' times, we're allowed to work on any technological project that we are passionate about. So this is my 20%, and it takes a lot less than 20%. So with as little as just a few hours a week, you can reach really, these wonderful 2,000 girls and make a change at least in some of their lives.
So this is great. We have already 2 spectacular role models, right? And I can't wait for your girls to visit Google and to get engaged with the spirit of maybe even dreaming about computer science and engineering. And I know you're going to talk about it in a second, about some things that you already do. And let's move now to Katherine, who's, these are girls standing in line to really get to hear Michal talking.
Yeah, Daniela.
Let's move to Katherine, who's coming from a very different perspective, being a role model into creative music education. And she's working with the Berlin Philharmonic doing their education programs, but her vision is much bigger in terms of the things that you can do with music to just teach children to fall in love with learning and to learn how to learn through music. A fascinating story. Yes.
Yeah. My name's Katherine Miliken. I'm a composer and a musician and an educator. And my whole philosophy, my love, is to bring music closer to people's hearts and to bring people to music in an active way. I work together with the Berlin Philharmonic because that is an institution which has as a resource 120 musicians. And my job is, together with these musicians as well as musicians from other institutions, to actually give them the skills that they need to actually engage with people who have perhaps had nothing to do with music in a very active and creative way. Now, for the musicians, for example, of any orchestra, this is slightly a problem. They're used to having music on their stands. They're used to knowing when to play, when not to play together. That's a very natural thing. But for them, the idea of actually sitting together with 10 kids and creating a piece of music, or actually imparting skills to perform this music, is rather a problem, because of course the musicians are also used to one-on-one, teaching one-on-one, learning one-on-one. Now, of course, not all of us are going to have that possibility. So those of us that don't have that possibility are going to have a very healthy fear of making music because it hasn't been available to us. Now, this is shocking. This is terrible, because music is the taste of life. Music is our emotion. Music is our body. Music is the other part of ourselves which can actually help us form our relationship together with other people. And we don't need to speak a particular language for that. We simply need to engage in music in a storytelling, creative way. Music is a necessity. It's not a luxury in our lives. So that is my goal. Now, if I want to take 1 minute just to do something with you, and I hope you won't mind, because I can speak on and on about this. It's so much my passion, having been trained in a very specific way and seeing how empowered and confident young people can become in Berlin and in other parts of the world where we work. People in Berlin, for example, I've worked with prisoners, I've worked with young kids in socially disadvantaged areas, bringing them together with richer kids, kids who come to school without breakfast, who are fiddly, who through music, in the end, when they're performing their piece, they're different kids. So I'm just going to do something with you. I'm going to divide you in half. Okay, yeah, we have to do something.
Ready for action.
Okay, I have a rhythm. It goes like this. And you might, yeah. Some of you may know it. It's a very famous rhythm. Let's do this half. I do it first, then you do it. Very good. Don't rush. This side goes like this. Hey!
Hey.
And again. So,
Hey. Hey.
that's good. You're very good. So, we're going to do this together. Now, because that side has a longer period, we're going to get a little bit out of phase. So, don't get worried. Stay very calm and enjoy the sound of the rhythms coming together. And I will let you on a secret. At some point, we're going to come back together. So, when we do that, notice that and stop on the next time. Okay? So, it'll go on for a while. So I will start you off. Ready? 1, 2, 3.
Hey. 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 Woo! Thank you so much. Okay, learning by doing. Very similar to computer science and engineering, actually, in many ways. This is a nice procedure with one variable. Okay, actually, I would like to go to Michael first, our student, since we all represent those who are in school, not yet on school, Dale. You're going to be our provocative finale here for the first round. So, Michael, tell us a little bit about you being in high school, in the international school in Israel, and what it means for you.
All right, so hi everyone. I'm Michael, I'm 15 years old, and I'm from the American International School in Israel. And my school is special in Israel just in the sense of the way that it's integrating technology in the school and the way that it's supporting the technological innovations and supporting the kids to go into science and mathematics and computer science. So one of the programs that my school has that I want to share with you is the one-to-one program with laptops. Starting in 6th grade, the school provides a laptop to every student and encourages them and motivates them to learn using the laptops, take notes using the laptops, even take exams using the laptops. And that all includes doing homework with them, communicating through the internet. And all these new technological innovations really enable us students to communicate freely with each other. For example, I just finished a series of final exams just 3 weeks ago, and one of the exams, the biology exam, is known to be very challenging and very demanding. And what we did, instead of meeting with one another physically to study, we said, well, why don't we just do one big study session to get everybody's ideas across. Of course, we couldn't get every 60 kids in my grade into one small room, crowded and everybody screaming at each other. What we did was we created a Google document, which enabled us to have a free chat and a live chat with each other, as well as offline, where I could put my information now, and my friend could put his information 5 hours later. And it was very nice and very effective that by the time the exam came, we had about 20 pages of information written by ourselves that we were able to study. And now another way that we use technology to make our education more effective is throughout actually learning the material, not only studying it for tests, but also absorbing it for the first time. I took a challenge, personally, I took a challenge upon myself this summer to learn an entire math course in a period of 1.5 months. And it's hard, but I was brainstorming on some ways that I could do it. And of course, I couldn't bring my math teacher here to Germany. I couldn't really put her in my pocket. But actually, I did something quite similar. Since today, there are dozens of teachers who put free and accessible videos online, whole courses, I was able to download all these courses, just 1 second, even on the small device, on the iPod, and even on the airplane or while waiting for a tennis match that I was watching, I could watch these math videos and actually learn an entire math course. And what I like about this is that it is also very entertaining. Just something that I don't tell this to my teachers. Sometimes when I'm in school, I sort of get a headache. So when I get a headache from the videos here, from the math videos, I can just put it on mute. Imagine if you could put your teacher on mute in school. I mean, how fun would that be?
The advantages of digital learning and teaching.
How fun would that be? Now, these are just some examples of how I use technology. These are just minor examples of how I use technology to make my education more effective. And of course, these are things that even 5 years ago you couldn't do. And it's very minor things. I mean, there are millions of examples of even this year in my school that we use technology. But these are just, I think, are very effective examples to share with you.
This is great. We heard yesterday Lee Edelkrut, am I pronouncing her name correctly? Not being German. And talking about the fact that we learn in groups, that there is all new kinds of self-learning and production that is going on in the future. Well, the future is here. Here's an example. I showed you some of these tapes from Globaloria, and all of us have examples of this. And then there is Dale, who's learning in a whole other way. So he's the leader of his own learning philosophy. He created his own way of schooling himself. So tell us about it.
I'm Dale, I'm 19, and I lead a global social movement called On College, which is challenging the notion that going to college is the only path to success. And I'm doing this because college may no longer be a good investment. We've seen the cost of college skyrocketing. In the US, college tuition has risen 350% since 1980, and we've seen in the UK that the price of college is about tripling this fall. So this is not the issue of cost is not isolated to the United States. At the same time, we've seen that the quality of the education in college is declining. Academically Adrift, a report done by researchers at NYU, Richard Aram, found that 36% of students over the course of 4 years of college showed no improvement on the Collegiate Learning Assessment, a test that measures aptitudes like qualitative thinking, complex reasoning, and writing. They showed no improvement in those areas after 4 years of college. And we're coming to a point where academic inflation is rampant. A bachelor's degree is becoming the new high school diploma. And I think that if we want to encourage people and prepare graduates for success, we need to encourage them to take their education beyond the classroom. A recent study done at Northeastern University found that 22.4% of college graduates under 25, the most recent class, who you would think would be the product of the best applications of learning methodology that we have, are unemployed. And another 22% beyond that are working in jobs that don't require a college degree. And when we're sending people into this track without thinking, and they're taking on an astronomical debt, in the US it's an average of $34,000 in debt that the average student graduates with, people are mortgaging away their freedom to innovate and create and go out and do in the real world in exchange for a degree, and are stuck in a narrow job, in a narrow path, needing to find a job to pay off that debt once they graduate.
That's great. So I just visited Dale's blog last night as I was preparing for this panel after we had a very interesting debate when we all met for a brief. And I highly encourage you to go and look at this blog. There are letters from his mother to other parents to support them if their child actually tries to hack their education process. And really wonderful reports from Dale to his community, which is how many?
We have about 2,000 individuals who've registered on the site as educational deviants in just the last 3 months.
At 19. Let's just wait for next DLD, I'm sure. And he just launched 4 months ago. Are you going to launch a company that is about learning with technology, or? Are you interested in launching a company while you're in high school? You're learning mathematics all on your own?
I mean, I'm just in 9th grade, but of course I'm starting to get ideas from everything that's around me. I'm surrounded by all these technological innovations, so you can't help but start thinking about what you want to do next. Of course, I am interested in computer science and creating my own softwares and my own company. But first you do have to get the right experience, because without the right experience, I mean, it wouldn't work.
So I think that my dream is that the kids will just code in the lunch line, you know, and kind of like,
well, that's starting to happen.
And I think we're getting close to it, maybe in some of your school.
Yeah.
And so I think this teenagers and those kids who may not need to even go to school may be a big competition to all of us as we're trying to look for jobs in Google, or, you know, be careful. So anyway, you obviously have a most challenging situation, Shirin, in terms of being a teacher and having this brave attitude to say, I'm now going to build the first Arab high school in this town. And this is the bravest entrepreneurial spirit probably we have on this panel here, to just say that you as a woman in that particular community can go and do it, take care of the boys, but also pay special attention to the girls. So we talked yesterday about it. Tell us a little bit more.
Well, there's a kind of man that doesn't like me. I don't know why, but powerful men. But my challenge is bigger because his name is Michael. Michael will have the final government exam like my student. And when I see what Michael has and what my student has, and they both have to sit
in the
same exam, so my challenge is bigger. So I want my students to have the same thing that Michael have, but right now they don't, and I am there for them. So when they will become bigger, and Michael and Hassan will like to go to high tech or get a job, so they have the same chance to get it.
So can people here help you in any way?
I think so.
Give us some ideas. There are amazing, amazing people here.
I think that's the difference between Hassan and Michael, that Hassan doesn't have the family. He doesn't get the right family. He doesn't get the right neighborhood and the right chance. And I am there for him to take all this, and I will do my best. I don't want to talk about these men or this challenge, because I think I have a lot of work to do. That's what I think. And if I will waste my time thinking about all the people that doesn't like me, it will take time from me, and I have a big job to do. They don't deserve me. Each second that I can give a chance for Rana, Hassan, and all the amazing children of mine, it's better than thinking about these men, these fundamentalistic people who think that I am not doing the right thing, Jewish people that think that I am very dangerous for the for the country of Israel, because I don't cry. I'm not saying we are poor, we don't have this, we don't have this. I just go and try to achieve anything. And if you want something, you can get it. I learned that from the Jewish people.
Katherine, what can you tell the audience, a way of getting active with music and the way that you do it?
Well, I think actually it's also an awareness. At the moment, we're losing music. Do we get up in the morning and sing and dance and get together with our friends and sing and dance? It's all going. And I know that we have strong folk cultures in some countries, and indeed I work together with all sorts of musicians from different countries. And in Berlin we have many, many musicians. And we all agree that actually somehow we have to come together and make music more personal and accessible for people. And that is actually allowing and enabling people to feel that they can make music with us, and to actually make up own songs, write own songs. Let's all perform them, let's all get together. And it seems a little flaky, maybe, the get together. No, it's not. It's actually incredibly essential, and it's a part of us that we will lose if we concentrate too much on pushing certain skills of students and leaving the storytelling, that energy to create that special charisma that gives someone the self-confidence to look for another creative solution. Because let's face it, in 20 years, the kids that we are educating, we don't know what they will have to face. We know the splits everywhere that they have to face now in many different ways, but how do we know what's in 20 years? And what the best thing we can give them is a feeling and a knowledge, a self-confidence that they can actually approach any sort of problem that's going to need solving. And music, storytelling, all sorts of the creative things that make up our culture is something we must give them, I think. And so I would implore, for example, Michal to, during the holidays, also to go and sing in a choir for a while and maybe make some musical applications for us in a fabulous software. But somehow I just think that essential musicality, storytelling, culture, that has to remain with us, open up and become an international language and bring us together.
So, thank you. Prepare some hard questions. Let me just ask Michal, because I know she has this big vision about how all corporations in Israel and in the world will follow her template. And so we have time for questions, which is really great to open the conversation. But maybe Michal, you want to?
Yeah, so the program that we built is built in a way that's very easy to replicate for other disciplines, for other corporates. And I see it as a vision of mine to kind of, talk to people from other places like yourselves. And all you need really is two things. You need executive support, and you need someone who's willing to take this on and lead. And this is pretty much it. So feel free to come and talk to me, and I would gladly help anyone who's interested in doing a similar thing.
Questions? Yes, please. Just introduce yourself.
My name is Ulrike, I'm here from Germany. I would like to ask Michael, if you hear something like Shirin just said in her last statement, what could you think of, doing for your Arab neighbors in Israel with digital new technologies?
Right, of course, you're...
Great question, Michael.
Of course, now I'm exposed. I mean, it's heartbreaking that there's such a big gap in such a close area that even my neighbors don't have nearly the same things that I'm having. And of course, there are a lot of things that can be done and should be done. I mean, one thing I can think of, maybe I can get my kids from my school to come with me. We bring our equipment, we also help educate the kids there about the new technological innovations. We can help do those things. I mean, there is a limit to what we as students can do, but I really hope that I can come and also help the school, maybe introduce some new innovations, technological innovations to your school also.
Yeah, he is literally 10 minutes away, so
yeah.
Let's get connections going. Okay. Any other question?
Yes, I'd like to address something. May I?
Yes, sure.
To Dale. You stepped out of a dream. A few years ago, I wrote a blog on the university, where people come because they really want to study. Please speak to me. Congratulations.
Thank you. And
quick response.
I think the problems I outlined reflect a cultural shift from college being a vehicle to gain knowledge to a rite of passage to adulthood. When we 18-year-olds embolden ourselves in this way, we don't go to college because we know exactly what we want to do. We go because our parents went, our peers are going, or because society expects it. And I think that if we can change this notion and enable people to know themselves better so that they can pursue whatever education is right for them, whether it's in college, whether it's outside of academia, or a blended model of the two, we can prepare individuals with the skills, the passion, the networking, the motivation, the hustle that's required to succeed in today's global entrepreneurial environment.
Okay. Let's take two quick questions, one after the other, and the panelists will think about responses. So your question number one.
My name is Michelle Fried. I'm a technologist from the United States, and I'm a computer scientist by background and have looked a lot at education from an edutainment perspective. But one of the things that I thought of as I was listening to this panel talk is that science and music are both based in math. And how you teach music and how you teach computer science are very different today. But when you talk to teachers about, they think that like WOW will be a platform how you teach somebody algebra and physics. And so I think, wouldn't it be interesting to take some of the innovative work that you're doing in teaching music in groups and thinking about computer science, and how do you bring those things together? And I just thought it would be fantastic if you guys brainstormed on that.
And I can tell you that we have a Global Laureate Jazz in Harlem exactly for that reason. And we are experimenting with the idea of integrating design and music into opening people's minds to think about scientific visualizations and computer science.
Yeah, certainly there is a high element of mathematics in music, and my background actually was science and before going to music. But it is possible, many teachers are thinking about that in Germany, you know, through singing your mathematical tables to actually looking at the physics of sound, which is fascinating, and then actually, you know, listening to what happens when sound is changed by changing particular physical properties or parameters. Wonderful, and I totally support that.
Final question?
We can arrange a delegation from my school to learn music in Munich, you know.
Exactly. Definitely virtually you can connect with Katherine, I'm sure, and she can come and visit.
So,
or maybe send the kids to Munich.
Actually, I want to make a quick comment. You're very, very right, and this is exactly what I'm trying to do in this program, to explain to these girls how broad science is. That science is not this narrow thing that you see in cartoons, and this is a very important point.
So science is broad, and there are many doors into getting to fall in love with science and engineering, and that will be our message. There is one person who really wants to. Okay, you have a mic over there.
Thank you. My name is Tamar, and my children go to school in Brooklyn, New York, in a private school. It's a Quaker school, and what they do in the summer to support the public school system is they fund schooling during the summer for children from poorer neighborhoods. It's not comparable with your situation.
And the question is?
My question for you is, what happens in the summer? Is there a long break? Because studies have shown that those kids who don't learn over the summer, and they don't have the support from the home environment, fall back to, you know, months.
So there is probably a variety of answers, and we can continue to talk at the end. I think each of us can maybe say what happens in the summer with their programs. But obviously blended learning and virtual learning goes day long, night long, and year round. It's always there.
Our school never be closed because it's the second home for my children. They don't have holidays. And the first day of a holiday, you see children come and want to stay at school because they like to be at school. There has no other place to be in. So we always have programs for them, and everyone who wants to come and help, he is welcome.
So that's actually a conversation we had yesterday, that unschooling and uncollege, for some kids, school is the place where they want to be, they can be, they get attention, love, food, and a lot of interesting projects that they don't get at home. And then also there is obviously some summer programs and things that can happen outside of school in different kinds of networks that exist, like Global Laureate and like other things. Do you want to add anything to the summer problem?
I just wanted to add one thing about what Michal said, about how the girls really don't know what the computer science is about, what science is about. I mean, as a high school student, I'm involved in all the discussions with the girls that they're asking me, how is it, what do you study, what do you do? And they really have no idea what it is. They think you're living basically in a cubicle where you don't have any social interactions in the workspace. It's no fun. All you do is program all day, and you're like all nerdy. Well, but that's what they think. They don't really know what it is. After kids from my school went on the trip to the Google offices, the feedback that I got was amazing. I mean, so many girls now want to be so much involved in all the studies that my school provides, and just because they saw of all the events that that Google does in the workspace, and that it is social and that it is fun. So, and they do see that there's a major difference from what they thought it was and from what it really is.
I will say that I hope that the Uncollege Learning philosophy can help individuals who do see school as a safe place to be, to understand that progress is life-wide and learning is lifelong, and can take the educational resources that we provide to go and extend their education beyond the classroom.
That's great. Let's end with this 30-minute clip about two girls from a similar background to Shirin creating a game about anti-teenage pregnancy.
Caperton High School. This will be my second year, and last year I worked on a game about choosing healthy foods. Last year I learned how to make buttons on Flash, how to use Wiki, and how to research things for my project.
This is my second year doing the Globaloria thing. I like using Flash because I've learned a lot through it. Because if you think about it, I'm making things that video game creators do every day, like they get paid for. So I think that's pretty cool. Anybody can learn to do it. If I can do it, anybody else can learn how to do it.
Yeah, I think any student could do Globaloria with the right guidance. Alexia and Kiana, they came in, they had no programming experience, and right now I know if I gave them something to do, if they didn't know it, they could figure it out, and they'd have no problem trying to figure it out. They'd go for it. I think having them here for the second year, and since they do have a lot of friends in their team, they do lead. And if they're not leading, all I have to do is really say, Kiana, why don't you show them how to do something? Alexia, can you show them how to do this? And they'll direct it. And I think Kiana has really taken the lead on the Girls' Choice games they're coming up with.
I think that games can help, because that's why we're doing a game about pregnancy, because a lot of girls we know are getting pregnant and it's not the best choice.
This is going to be like a second page to our Girls' Choice project. I hope people learn how it affects your life majorly and to make better choices as a teen.
For the game this year, we have to find how, like, the percentage of people who gave their baby up for adoption, and we have to find out the difficulties people have when they're pregnant and how much money it costs to buy things for a baby, because it's a lot of money.
Having to gather research on things and background information to have resources and stuff is really going to help me a lot with this, like making it easier so I know what to do, like in college when research papers do come up.
Okay. Thank you, everybody. We are here for questions.